You know, a woman is close to death before she knows it herself. You see it in the color beneath her skin, the way she holds her breath without realizing, the way her eyes go somewhere else for just a moment, like they're checking on something far away. You've seen it 100 times. You know how to bring her back. Your name is Esperanza. You're 53 years old. You were born in this borderland, this strip of mesquite and river and dust that is neither fully Texas nor fully Mexico, but completely, fiercely its own. Your mother was a curandera. Her mother before her. Her mother before that. You didn't choose this work. You were chosen for it. By the time you were 12, you were mixing remedies. By 16, you had delivered your first baby. By 20, the women of 3 villages trusted you with their lives, and their lives, over 53 years, have taught you everything. The town is called Rio Seco. 200 families, Mexican-American. Most of them, some families have been here since before Texas was Texas, since before America reached this far, since before any border existed to cross. They are ranchers, farmers, laborers. They speak Spanish at home and broken English at the market. They baptize their children in the Catholic Church and bring them to you when the priest's prayers aren't enough. You are not a doctor. You have no degree. No certificate on the wall. What you have is this: a knowledge of plants so deep it lives in your hands rather than your head. Manzanilla for stomach pain, ruda for fever, yerba buena for the restless child, osha root for the chest that won't clear, epizote for the belly full of worms. You know which roots to boil and which to dry, which leaves to crush and which to steep, which remedies work fast and which work slow, and which work only if the patient believes they will work, and you've learned. Over 50 years, that belief is its own medicine. You know how to set a broken bone, how to close a wound without a surgeon's needle, how to ease a dying person toward death with dignity rather than terror. And you know how to bring a baby into the world. That last one, that is your most sacred work. The Anglo doctor arrives in Rio Seco in the spring of 1895. His name is Dr. Harold Whitmore Young, 28 years old, fresh from a medical college in Philadelphia, sent by the county to bring modern medicine to the He sets up an office above the dry goods store, buys a sign, H. Whitmore, M.D., physician and surgeon. The Mexican families look at his sign and then look at each other. They keep coming to you. Dr. Whitmore does not take this well. He comes to see you one afternoon in the fall, knocks on the door of your small adobe house. You open it, flour on your hands. You are making tortillas, because healing is not your whole life, only most of Italiano. He is polite, stiff, the politeness of a man who has rehearsed what he wants to say. Mrs. Esperanza, I want to be straightforward with you. What you practice is not medicine, it's folklore. Some of it may be harmless. Some of it may be dangerous. I'm asking you, respectfully, to refer your patients to me. You look at him for a long moment. He is young, is educated. He believes every word he just said. How many babies have you delivered, doctor? You ask. I have training in obstetric procedure. How many? You ask again. Quietly, just the question. A pause. 3, he says. In clinical settings, you nod slowly. I have delivered 412, you say. Here, in these houses, in these fields. Come back and talk to me when you've delivered 400 more. You close the door. He doesn't come back. The call comes on a January night, 1896. A boy, maybe 14, riding hard pounds on your door at midnight. Doña Esperanza, ¿Es la señora Vega el bebé no viene? The Vega baby isn't coming. You are dressed and out the door in 4 minutes. Your bag leather, worn soft as cloth, is always packed, always ready. You ride with the boy through the dark. The night is cold, clear, the kind of Texas January that has teeth. Stars everywhere, mesquite shadows on the pale ground. The Vega house is lit up like a lantern, every lamp burning. You can hear Lucha Vega before you reach the door. You've heard that sound before. Not the sound of pain, though there is pain. The sound underneath the pain. The sound of a body that has been working too long and is starting to lose faith in itself. You go in. Lucia is 24 years old, her third child, laboring since yesterday morning. 26 hours. The room smells of sweat and fear, and the herbs her mother-in-law has already tried. You smell ruda, you smell manzanilla, but they haven't been enough. Her husband Rodrigo stands in the corner, hat in his hands, face the color of chalk. Her mother-in-law Dona Carmenal, steady, who has seen everything, looks at you with eyes that say, "Thank God you're here." You'll go to Lucia Taquerand. She grips you like she's drowning. Esperanza, she says, just your name, but the way she says it means everything. Aquí estoy, you say. I'm here. You examine her, quickly, thoroughly, your hands reading what your eyes can't fully see. The baby is turned, not severely, not the worst you've seen, but enough. Position wrong, pressing wrong, exhausting Lucia with every contraction and going nowhere. You've seen this before. You know what to do. You work. First, you need Lucia to rest. Briefly, between contractions, you brew a careful tea. Small amount of blue cohosh, which you use sparingly and precisely, because you know its power and its danger both. You've used it 100 times. You know the difference between the dose that helps and the dose that harms. You make her drink it, slowly. Talk to her while she drinks. Not about the baby, about her daughter. Her firstborn, Rosa, who is 3 years old and asleep in the next room. Rosa needs her mother tomorrow, you say. So does this one. Lucia's breathing slows? Not much, but enough. Then you begin the real work. Your hands, these hands that have done this 400 times, find the baby through the wall of Lucia's abdomen. Feel the position. The shoulder. The head. You apply pressure. Slow, steady, precise, not force guidance. You are not moving the baby. You are suggesting to the baby where to go. This takes time. 20 minutes. 30. Luce is exhausted. You are patient. Then you feel it. A shift, small but definite. The baby turning, accepting the suggestion, finding the path that was always there. Lucia, Yusa, Ahora. Now, at 3:47 in the morning, a boy is born. He arrives furious and loud, announcing himself to the cold January night with a cry that fills the small house completely. Rodrigo makes a sound in the corner that is not quite a word. Dona Carmen crosses herself. You wrap the baby, and to Lucia, who takes him against her chest and closes her eyes and says nothing for a long moment. Then she opens her eyes and looks at you. Gracias, Dona Esperanza. You squeeze her hand once. Then you go to the corner and sit down in the old wooden chair. That's always in the corner at these moments. You've learned, over 400 births, that there is always an old wooden chair in the corner, and you allow yourself 60 seconds of stillness. 60 seconds. Then you get up and begin the work of making sure mother and baby are safe through the night. 3 days later, Dr. Whitmore hears about the Vega birth. He comes to see you again. This time he doesn't knock with the stiffness of a man who is he knocks like a man who has been thinking for 3 days. You open the door, flower on your hands. Again, he stands there. He looks different, younger somehow, and older at the same time. The Vega baby, he says. I heard it was a difficult presentation. It was, you say. The repositioning technique you used. He stops. Starts again. I don't know that technique. You look at him for a moment. Then you open the door wider. Come in, you say. I'll make coffee. He comes in. He sits at your table. The same table where your mother taught you, where her mother taught her, and you tell him about the blue cohosh, and the repositioning, and the 60 seconds in the chair. He listens, really listens, writes some things in a small notebook. He is still young, still stiff, still believes things about medicine that you disagree with, but he is listening. And that In this borderland, in this year, in this slow collision between the world that was and the world that's coming, that is enough. For now, this was life for curanderas in the Texas borderlands. In the 1890s, curanderas, traditional healers, were the primary medical care for Mexican and Mexican-American communities across Texas, New Mexico, and California for centuries. Their knowledge was encyclopedic: herbal medicine, midwifery, bone setting, spiritual healing, psychological care. When Anglo doctors arrived in the late 1800s, they brought real advances and real arrogance. Many tried to eliminate curandera practice entirely, calling it superstition, folklore, witchcraft. They largely failed, because the communities trusted because the curanderas were there, in the house, in the night, in the language, in the knowledge that no four-year medical degree had yet replicated. Some of their plant-based remedies have since been validated by modern pharmacology. Blue cohosh, used carefully by experienced midwives for centuries, is still studied today. Osha root has documented antiviral properties. Manzanilla is chamomile. They knew. They had always known. Esperanza practiced for 30 more years after Dr. Whitmore arrived. He eventually left Rio Seco for a practice in San Antonio. You stayed. You delivered 641 babies in your lifetime. Every one of them lived. Old America Diaries, real life, real history, one state at a time.